to stand against violence and oppression and injustice, especially against women and children and human trafficking in the world, to stand against the policies and attitude and media coverage and practices that are based on discrimination, to condemn any attack on the sacred places and using the places of worship for armed conflicts, to promote a new cooperation among religious leaders and diplomats, and to commit ourselves in a global cooperation to bring a just solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. As a matter of fact, for this word we have to discuss, because there were 2 Jewish observers also in the conference. It took us 1 hour to find a term that's satisfactory to all Shia and Sunni and Muslim and Jewish, to everyone, that how should we word the Palestinian and the Israeli conflict. Some of them say we don't want to even recognize the name of Israel, and some of the delegation are saying that we don't want to even mention it because we are just religious leaders and not political leaders. And I stood up and I said that everything that we discuss means nothing if we don't mention the Israeli-Palestinian issue and injustice is going on over there. What kind of justice we are talking about if we are not going to even mention one of the most obvious manifestations of oppression in the whole world? So, alhamdulillah, we found a term for that. And altogether, I would say that this was really a great experience to see the organization, that how people organize the thing. I said, oh God, when is going to be that we in this community, in this house of wisdom, can have a seminar like that we can bring all these leaders from all over the world with that kind of organization, that for 3 days of summit, everything was on time and everything based on the schedule. If there was any problem, it was because some of us in the conference, that if the bus is there, some of us late, or the conference starts, somebody is late. But when it comes to the term of those who put together this program, everything worked perfectly. And I was so impressed, especially to see that the Rais al-Azhar, which is different from Sheikh al-Azhar. You know, they have Sheikh al-Azhar, that's Tantawi, that's different story. But the Rais al-Jami'a al-Azhar, that's the university, as I mentioned, 450,000 students. And that's a huge experience to see this man and to see 4 other professors who are in charge of 4 big departments in Al-Azhar, and spend lots of time to talk about unity of Shia and Sunni. We never could have this easily the way we had it as easy in the last 3-4 days. Yesterday when I was coming back on board, by accident there was an army general sat next to me. And between Washington and here we were talking, and I mentioned that I'm coming from a conference, and where are you going? He said that I'm going to stop in Detroit and then go to another state for, there is an army conference that we are going to deal with the army. And I said, it's very interesting that I'm coming from a conference of faith and you are going to a conference of force. So how can we combine this faith and force together? And he said, as a matter, I said, so one conference is talking about wisdom, another conference is talking about weapon. How can we bring wisdom and weapon, force and faith together? He said, as a matter of fact, I'm not dealing with weapon in that conference. I'm going to share the experience of Washington with the army on that base, how to deal with the stress of the soldiers coming from Afghanistan, from Iraq, and so many problems, so many cases of divorce in the army, so much family failures and destructions of the families because of this wars. and we are going to deal how to, as a matter of fact, approach this problem and solve this stress among the soldiers. Then he said, by the way, you went to this conference and talk about like reconciliation and bringing justice and end the war and violence, but then you clergy are not in charge of that. How can you do that? And then we continue the discussion. He said, first off, we decided that next conference also invite some of the politicians to come and to listen to what we had to say. Then they get involved with this engagement as well. And secondly, he said, then it's better than the State Department hire some of the religious leaders. Then when they are introducing the policies in the Middle East and here and there, they have the ideas of some of the religious leaders as well. So his suggestion was that we need in the State Department some people of faith who can correct the diplomats and who can correct the politicians from making these wrong decisions about the peace and the war. Inshallah, if I get a chance, opportunity later on in other meeting, there are so many details that I can share with you, that how many opportunities are there for us as a Muslim community, Christian community, to reach out and to celebrate this diversity and make it like a dynamic movement, not only for this country, but for the whole world, to bring more understanding, more education, more tolerance, and more unity that would bring peace and justice and reconciliation for all of the humanity. And I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that opportunity, for that participation, that the Shia delegation had a very deep and impressive impact on the participants of the conference and also on the overall congregation of Washington National Cathedral. Bismillah.